I was really concerned that I was teaching my daughters by being a beauty creator that makeup is what makes you pretty. And obviously that's not what I want to teach my girls. I want to teach my girls that true beauty comes from kindness. And it's not just being kind to others, it's being kind to yourself.
Lisa is the founder and CEO of BK Beauty. She built BK Beauty into the leader it is in its category. Lisa is living proof that you don't need millions of followers to launch a wildly successful brand.
One thing I told myself then though is, Lisa, don't get too high in your highs and don't get too low in your lows, because this will not always be here. This growth is not sustainable and you cannot get attached to this and you cannot base your self-worth or your happiness on this.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I'm your host, Sanira, and we are live again from the Millionaire Founders Club Summit. This conversation, this fireside chat, I have been dreaming about, I will say, or the other person has been dreaming about. I am so excited to welcome Lisa Jauregui to the stage. Lisa is such an incredible entrepreneur, and we have met recently through Instagram, but I'm so inspired by her story and her success and what she's been able to do in growing her business to the Inc. 5000 list over 3 years straight, 30 million in revenue, all of the accolades, without a huge following. Lisa is the founder and CEO of BK Beauty, a direct-to-consumer cosmetics brand that she launched in 2019 from her living room, just like us, with just $30,000 and a vision to redefine the beauty tools category. A former beauty content creator and micro-influencer with 100,000 followers at a time, which is pretty decent following, but not millions. Lisa is living proof that you don't need millions of followers to launch a wildly successful brand. By leveraging the power of social media and the genuine connection that she has with her community, she built BK Beauty into the leader it is in its category, and entirely self-funded. You're like the Sarah Blakely of beauty. BK Beauty has achieved over 30 million in annual revenue in 2024 and has ranked amongst the fastest growing privately held companies in America, appearing on the Inc. 5000 list 3 consecutive years, number 501, number 419, and number 484. And I'm so excited to welcome Lisa to this incredible fireside chat. Welcome to CEO School.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, Lisa, we have to talk about how we connected. We have to get that out right away because it's an insane story.
It really is. This is on, right? You guys can hear me? So I had been following Sanira for about a year. I actually found her through Seema's Instagram account, and I just loved everything that I saw on your Instagram. I just loved following you, but we had never really communicated through DMs. I had this random dream about 6 weeks ago, random dream, as many dreams are so random, that she was doing my makeup, okay? So bizarre, right? The next morning I was hiking with my husband and I tell him, I had this dream about this woman I follow, and I was telling my husband all about you and kind of your content and your personal brand. 2 days later, I wake up, and of course, I hate to admit it, but the first thing I do is check Instagram comments, and I have a comment from Sanira on my post talking about the Inc. 5000 list, and it says, you need to be on my podcast. Isn't that wild?
Wild. Like that, if that's not the universe finding its way for us to be together, I don't know what is.
Exactly. It was just okay, this is clear that we're meant to connect. And
we were 100% meant to connect. I feel so grateful that it all happened. And wow, I was doing your makeup in your dream. That is incredible. I love makeup.
It did look amazing too. You do great makeup in my dreams.
I do great makeup with your dreams. Okay, so Lisa, it's so wild. And I think, just even to kick start before we even have this conversation, this is a good reminder that we've been talking a lot about about social media. And I do think that I have truly met some of the most remarkable women from the internet. And you can really tell so much about people on how they're posting content. And I know a lot of the times you're like, Instagram is fake or it isn't real and it's not the highlight reel. But honestly, authentic founders, you can see their authentic content come through. And I feel so grateful that Instagram connected us and we're here today. So send that DM if you have a dream and you want to connect with someone, you want someone on your show, I actually cold pitched Sophia Amoroso on Instagram DM, and we connected, and she was the first episode that I did for the CEO School podcast. And I was like, if there was one person that I want, her book, Girl Boss, was the first business book. And I know it's very controversial right now, but in its time, it was incredible for what it was. And I sent her a DM and I said, I you should be my first guest. And she said yes. And that's how that happened.
I love that because I think so many of us are scared to reach out because we're scared of being rejected. But at the end of the day, like, I'd rather hear no than just not have the opportunity at all. So I love that.
I love that. Okay. So Lisa, tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you get started? Talk to me from, as far back as being a creator, and then how did it lead you to BK Beauty?
Yeah. So I started on YouTube 11 years ago, actually. I had been a makeup artist prior to that. I was having my second child. I was pregnant with my second daughter. And as a makeup artist in Austin, you're primarily doing wedding makeup, right? So I was booking weddings a year in advance. On my feet every Saturday, every Sunday. I loved makeup so much, but I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, I know I cannot do this forever. I have young kids. I'm missing birthday parties. I'm missing family events. And so I reluctantly kind of closed that business as a wedding makeup artist, and I turned to YouTube. I saw YouTube as an opportunity for me to share my passion online with women and really it be on my own terms. I didn't really expect to monetize it. I didn't have a strategy to become an influencer. This was 11 years ago. I just started, filming myself, figuring out how to edit the videos, and then I would post them online, post them on YouTube, maybe once a month. And slowly, I created this really organic, community, very slowly, very, very slowly. And that just kind of led me to learn more about the creator economy. After 3 or 4 years, I finally started to monetize my content. So for 3 years, I didn't monetize any of my content at all. It truly was a passion. I was one of those people. And about 5 years into the business,
when you say monetization, you mean like with brand deals?
Or affiliate links. I wasn't even using affiliate links at the time. So I was just posting content and then raising kids. They were very little. And once I started to monetize the content with affiliate links, I started to learn more about the creator economy. I then started to kind of understand who was watching my videos. I understood what the age demographics were, what places they were shopping, what products they were buying. Gave me a lot of really helpful insight. 5 years into being on YouTube is when my husband and I decided to launch BK Beauty. He had been a CMO at a tech company. We always knew we wanted to do something together. We worked on the product development for about a year. We launched in August of 2019.
I'm going to pause you. How did the idea come about? So there's so much happening in beauty. How did you decide you were going to do brushes?
Yeah, so I had been a makeup artist, and I would always talk in my videos about having the tools are almost more important than the products that you're using. You don't need to be shopping at Nordstrom or Sephora for your makeup. You can hit up the drugstore, but if you have the right tools, you can have a beautiful, flawless application. And so the tools were so important. And I also felt like there wasn't really a leader in the makeup tools space. There wasn't. Every brand had brushes, but they weren't the focus. So I felt like the brush space was a really great place that we could get momentum and become a leader in.
Yeah, there's a white space opportunity.
Definitely. And to be quite honest too, like you said, we're self-funded. We started the brand with $30,000 and that meant everything. That was inventory, that was website, that was shipping material, everything. And brushes didn't have a shelf life. I didn't know if I was going to sell out of these in a month or if they'd be sitting on my shelf for a year. Color cosmetics, it's like you better be able to move that quickly. And so that was also part of the reason.
I think that that's so clever that you were like, how can I think of a white space in the category that's there? I see that actually really often in entrepreneurs when we're like, we know what's the next idea or even iterating on their business value proposition. I'm always about what's the new thing that's not being done. And I love that that's what you picked. So you launched BK Beauty. So you launched the brushes. Can you tell me about the name BK?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. So I knew
it's my favorite part.
Oh, I don't even know if we talked about that.
No?
So you did your research. So when we launched the brand, I immediately knew I'm not going to name it after myself. Like that was the thing to do as an influencer, right? But I wasn't a big name. I had 100,000 subscribers. People didn't know who I was. That was not going to help me. But I also knew that I wanted it to be bigger than myself. So I started thinking. My daughter's names are Brooklyn and Kate. So there's kind of where the B and the K started. But then I also started to think about what was the message I was teaching my daughters about beauty as a beauty creator, okay? Because when I started making videos on YouTube, I had a 2-year-old and I was pregnant. By the time we launched the brand, I now have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. And so I had grown a lot. Motherhood grows us. We learn things. We gain more confidence. And I was really concerned that I was teaching my daughters by being a beauty creator that makeup is what makes you pretty. And obviously that's not what I want to teach my girls. I want to teach my girls that true beauty comes from kindness. And I'm going to get a little emotional, but it's not just being kind to others, it's being kind to yourself, right? And I think I learned that way too late in my lifetime, that kindness to yourself part. And so BK stands for Beauty is Kindness. And we do give back a portion to the Kindness Campaign, which is a nonprofit that teaches kids about social emotional awareness. And yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. And I'm crying now too. It's so important. I think that this is why I love telling stories about women founders, sharing stories about women founders, supporting women founders, because I don't meet women who are starting businesses for the sake of starting a business. Like everything that we touch, even if it's as superficial, I'm going to like put air quotes as beauty products that might get, it's just another product, or it's, in this category, can still have so much meaning and purpose behind it. And I just think it's so beautiful. And I think kindness is that's the thing that, makes this world, makes us human. And the more kindness that we can spread this is what this world will make us, everything will be a better place if we can spread kindness. And that was my favorite part. Like, I feel like that was my favorite part about BK Beauty and beauty is kind. And I think that for young girls and even as women, we are brought up in, let's talk about kind of the constructs of beauty and the pressures of being a woman. And this is not just in today's world. This has always been for, and we have our own psychological blockers on beauty, how we view ourselves, perceptions of how others view us. And then we also have societal standards and what the standard of beauty needs to look like. Could you talk to me about what your feelings around that?
Yeah, well, they've definitely evolved as I've gotten older. I'm 42 years old now. And I think that, when I've always loved makeup since I was a 12-year-old. I remember that was what I was passionate about. But the 12 to 25, 28-year-old Lisa, makeup was what I put on to feel better about myself, right? The 29, when I have my first daughter, the 29 to the 42-year-old Lisa realizes that, makeup is a tool. It's a creative tool. It's like an art form, and it can make us feel a little bit better. But, I see beauty in a very different lens today than I did before. And I get online, and I start these videos with absolutely zero makeup on, like my bare raw face. And I think that has really given me a lot of confidence and just self-acceptance. And I think that it's helped me just connect with women in a more authentic way,
I think that's really beautiful. And I do wish that for my daughters. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I put a lot of pressure, and I think a lot of women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, on the way we look and how, it does. But I will say the confidence that I get when I look good, I feel really good inside. And I don't do it for anybody else. I really do it for me. And I feel my most confident when I feel my most beautiful self. And for me, my most beautiful self comes from also my tools, whether it's my clothes or my makeup or my hair. But I feel like I show up as a 10 times better CEO, or I need that boost of confidence. That this is my armor, I guess. But it is important that I feel it gives me the confidence that I need. And I love that there's, and I'm feminine. And I think that that's also like, there's been a lot of like conversation around masculinity and femininity, and especially, and we're going to go into the business conversation of this, but I have for so long felt, and I've always been in a masculine world, but I had to almost mask my femininity to show up in that masculine world. And it's just not my most authentic self. Like what you see, it's ironic, I'm actually wearing a tie. But this is a fashion statement, right? But I do feel at my most authentic self, in my most feminine self. And I don't think I was given permission, and I don't know if I needed permission, but I was masking that for so long in my space. How do you feel about it being in your feminine?
I've always been very feminine. Yeah. I think me personally, I struggle with kind of finding that masculine side of me, that real assertive side. That's always been a struggle for me. So I think it's beautiful that you have that perfect balance of both. I think it's good to have a good balance of both.
I think so. But I think it's just giving permission to women to be their most, like we are feminine, authentic selves. Like we need to embrace that and love that. All right, let's come back to the business, because that's what this podcast is about. This is what this audience wants to hear. Talk to me about the early days. So you got the business started, it's not a lot of money to start a business, get your website, get your inventory, get product, get e-commerce. Like what were like those first steps, and what does those first early years look like until when it, was there an overnight, like when did it take off? And walk me through that early stage journey.
Yeah, so it's funny because my husband wrote down on a piece of paper the day we launched what we were going to do every year for the next 10 years. And he has really been accurate within like tens of thousands of dollars. And I remember looking at that piece of paper in 2019, and I'm like, you are crazy. Like, how are we going to do that? But it's pretty incredible to look back on and see our journey. So we started in our living room, truly, packing orders on our table. We launched in August. We had family and friends helping us pack orders. I kind of honestly thought that I was just going to be packing orders on the weekends and at night. I really thought that that's the business that I was going to have. Really quickly, we realized, like, okay, this is going to be a much bigger thing. My husband actually put his notice into his job that he'd been out for 10 years.
I'm going to pause you right here. So you're in your living room. You're like, what did you first do? Like, you like put this on Instagram, you talk to your audience, because I think this is a huge part of how did the business even, like, who was purchasing your products?
Yeah, good question. I'm glad you asked me that. So at the time, I had 100,000 followers on YouTube, and really it was just a YouTube video I uploaded. Okay. I had shared with people about a month before that I was going to be launching something. I launched that YouTube video. So the first customers, the very early days, were people that followed me and wanted to support me, which obviously is so special. And, we have grown the business. The first year and a half or 2 years was all organic. We didn't really have a budget for marketing. I am a creator and I still create videos on YouTube and post them every single week. So I had a lot of creator friends. We seeded a lot of our product to those people and to other creators. And so everything was kind of organic in the creator space. We didn't have the budget to pay creators, but it was all organic. We did a collaboration with another creator. Her name is Angie Hot and Flashy. She is a pretty large creator on YouTube. At the time we launched that collaboration, she had 1 million subscribers, and that was a huge inflection point for the brand. She was a very, very trusted source, and she didn't work with a lot of brands, so the fact that she worked with us, and again, it was one of those things where I was scared to ask her because I was scared she was going to say no. Yeah. But I was like, she likes our brushes already, I'm going to ask her, and she said yes. Yeah. And that really gave us our first inflection point. And we started scaling and doing paid ads about 2.5, 3 years in. Now we spend a good, 30% of our revenue goes to paid ads. But we have a really strong creator influencer strategy. Being a creator myself, I think, gives me a huge advantage because I know how the ideal relationship looks between a brand and a creator. And it's important to me that we nurture that. So I think that we are really great at building those authentic relationships, and they're not transactional. And
I feel like that theme also keeps coming up about relationships. Like, it really does. Like, having relationships that are not transactional are so important. And people can see right through that when you're like, here's the thing and here's the deal and here's a transaction. It's so important to build those relationships. And it might not happen immediately, but it's built over time.
Totally. Yeah. We also did a collaboration with Nikki LaRose, who's a celebrity makeup artist in LA. And I love to share the story about how this happened with Nikki because I was just a fan of her content. And when I approached her, she was a very small creator. I think she had 30,000 subscribers on YouTube, which usually you see these collaborations happening with the channels that have 1 million or 3 million. But I recognized that she was so special, and the engagement that she had with her community and the relationship she had with her community was just incredibly special. She was so connected to them, and she was an expert. I knew she was going to be a star. And so I approached her really early on. And I said, I would love to do a branded collaboration with you. And now she's one of my best friends.
Was she in your dreams too?
She was not in my dreams, but we've launched 2 collaborations, hugely successful. We have a great relationship. I really feel like she's kind of a partner in our business in many ways. But it was one of those things where I'm like, it was my intuition. I just knew that this was someone that aligned with not only my values, but with the brand. And
I have to the audience that might be tuning in or listening and that may not feel your energy, I do want to say that you do have a very, really beautiful energy about you. Like, you really do, when you're like, I can trust my intuition, and you lean into people, your approach, like you really do. I feel like your intuition is you've got a really good one. Like, I could feel your energy from the moment that we have our first DM exchange to where, like, even dinner last night, like, you just have a really awesome presence about you. And I know the audience might not get to feel that and see that. It feels really authentic and like why you're doing what you're doing. Okay, so the business scaling, now you are doing these collaborations. And I love the collaborations because I talk a lot about the one-to-many instead of just being one-to-one, right? Selling one brush at a time versus, tapping into other partnerships and opportunities. And I think this can be applied to so many business models, not just in consumer product. But now it's taking off. When does that scale point happen? Maybe what were some of those struggles of scale? So, a lot of the times, like for me, when I was scaling, like I didn't go to CEO school. I didn't know what was happening. The demands were there. My business was not able to support it. Did you have challenges in scale?
Definitely. The first couple of years, our biggest struggle was inventory. We were selling out all the time, and there was a 3 to 4 month lag before we could get more inventory. So that really limited us. Excuse me. So learning to kind of be able to predict inventory forecasting is now something we're really good at. But I think that was the biggest struggle. And also fulfillment. One thing we do that a lot of brands don't do is self-fulfillment. So we don't outsource it to a 3PL, which is the easy thing to do because self-fulfillment can be difficult and challenging from a staffing perspective because you have a launch or you have a sale, you might need 12 people. The next week, you might need 2. And so how do you make commitments to people on an employment basis when you're in that situation? So, but we held on to it because I feel like I think it's been one of the best things for us. If you follow us on Instagram, you can see, we take you behind the scenes, you see our team, you see your orders being packed. People know our customer service reps' names. They know, I mean, it's just like a huge part of our story and a huge part of our strategy on social. And it allows us to control the customer's experience, every part of it. And customer service is huge for us. I mean, that's something that I am very proud of because, again, from the early days, our first customers were ordering because they wanted to support me, and I didn't want to let them down. Now the brand has kind of exceeded my orbit. A lot of people don't know who I am that are our customers, which is fantastic, but we still hold that same high level of service.
I love that. And I think it's so important to not lose sight of that. I think when brands are scaling and they forget about the customer who's actually behind there, who's pulling out their wallet, the brand value then diminishes. And over time, it ends up not working out. And I want to attest to one of my favorite, I showed my mom this video of you. And one of my favorite videos is you talking on the phone to your customers. So you surprise called, if you can kind of like share that with the audience of how you're connecting with customers beyond just the purchase order or on social. Talk to me through those like calls that you were doing with your most loyal purchase customers.
Yeah, so we kind of pulled our most loyal customers. So people who placed the most orders with us, the person who placed the very first order in 2019, we called her. I think I called like a dozen people, but of course only 2 people answer because no one answers their phones these days. But I got her on the line and her name was Nancy. And so she answers the phone and I'm like, hi, is this Nancy? And she's like, yes, who is this? And I said, this is Lisa from BK Beauty. And of course, she kind of took a second to like process like what was happening. And I just thanked her. She had placed 42 orders with us. 42 orders with us. She had 15 of the same makeup brushes, 15 of them. And so I just thanked her. I said, we're celebrating 6 years. It's our 6th birthday this week. And I just wanted to call and thank you for all the support. And we got into this really beautiful conversation that actually brought me to tears. She said, Lisa, I just love you. And I just want you to be successful, is what she said. She's like, and it makes me so happy that you are. And it's like, that is what we have. That is what's special about us. That is what I'm so proud. And no matter how large we get, I want to always nurture that connection. I remember reading this comment on one of our posts and I love it. I actually need to frame this quote, but it said, if a brand felt like family, this is it. Someone commented that on one of our posts when it was our team and we were showing them behind the scenes. If a brand felt like family, this is it. I was like, oh, that's just gold. That's what we want.
That is gold. That is so inspiring. And it's such a good reminder. Like, I feel like that is just the most inspiring thing ever. It's really putting the human first. It doesn't matter like what the business is, you literally making that human to human connection authentically just to say thank you. And that is kindness. That is truly kindness. And your brand does do that. And that was one of my favorites. I showed it to my mom. And it was a really special, I think it's so special and I feel so inspired by that. So how, with your team, so scaling's happening, there's obviously going to be challenges in scale. When did you feel when was this outer body experience that I think all founders will go through this in their scale when you kind of pass that 8-figure mark and then you're kind of outside of it and you're looking at it. I don't know if I get how I'm describing this, but your vision it's happening. What was that moment for you when you were like, oh shit, this is now beyond me. It's here. It's happening.
It was TikTok Shop.
Okay.
It was TikTok Shop in August of 2023. I'll never forget. It was the beta program for TikTok Shop. And they were just launching the program where you could shop in-app on TikTok. And we had a lot of TikTok creators that used our product because we've been seeding to all of them. And we'd been nurturing those relationships with those creators, even though they couldn't really monetize or tag the product yet. So when TikTok Shop came on board, all these creators were already fans of the brand. They could now tag the product and monetize their content. And we were a very early adopter of TikTok Shop when a lot of brands were scared of it and they didn't want to get on the platform because it was TikTok and it was like, oh, we just jumped in, we leaned in, and TikTok Shop launched in August of 2023. By November, we were doing $1 million on the platform in a month. Months later. It was insanity. It really is like what just was the rocket ship for our business for 2023 and then 2024. Things have changed. TikTok Shop is not that rocket ship anymore, but it has been, I think that's the moment where I stepped outside and I was like, oh my gosh, one thing I told myself then though is, Lisa, don't get too high in your highs and don't get too low in your lows, because this will not always be here. This growth is not sustainable. And you cannot get attached to this, and you cannot base your self-worth or your happiness on this, right? And so I had that talk with myself because I knew. And I think that's really important to remember too, as a founder, a business owner, is that you can't get too high in your highs, you can't get too low in your lows.
I agree with that fully, but that moment is a really important moment. And every founder that I know that has scaled beyond that 10-figure mark, I feel like those moments, or it's happening. And everyone can point back that moment that they were like, oh yeah, this is the moment that it happened. And I think you're right on, like it was TikTok Shop, but I do think that the point that you're making on not going, there are going to be moments of the business that are going to happen, but you can't get comfortable, right? And that's really when growth truly stops, is the moment that you start getting comfortable, growth stops. And it is so important for, nothing is as good as it seems and nothing is as bad as it seems. And it is important for you to say, that was a really great talk, that you had great mindset to be like, okay, I'm not going to put all my eggs in this basket. Because many founders will be like, oh, great, this is the new thing that's happening. Let's shut all the rest of it down. One of the things that I really like whenever I see growth businesses, and you've got these like one hero way to like scale your product, my first question whenever I'm investing in a company is like, what are the diversification of sources that you have? Because if I actually see one huge concentration of it's all either TikTok Shop or it's Google Ads, or even if it's organic, like how are you scaling through with multi-sources? Because you can't, because if they pull the plug, which there's so much controversy on TikTok over the last year and a half, then you're stuck with not being able to sustain your business. And so I do think that's really important for founders to not go all in, but you have to pay attention to the waves. So you're like, okay, that's happening. Let me, pay attention. And it's always evolving. And I think that's what's crazy about building businesses. And what I'm learning so much in building my second company again. And there's things that I'm doing exactly the same, but I also have to pay attention to what's relevant now. Like it wasn't relevant 10 years ago. And so being relevant and staying on top of trends is so important. Lisa, you're also a mom, and you talk about your kids, and your kids are clearly part of the BK Beauty brand. And I've seen them, on your social. But what is it like building a company with your husband and like with your work family, and then also being a mom? I'd love to tap into that for you.
It's amazing, honestly. We get asked all the time, how do you and your husband work together? And we work together really well. I think we have different interests and different strengths, and we have a clear line of like what falls on my desk, what falls on his desk, and we respect each other to make those decisions if that's our area. I feel like I have a great work-life balance, and sometimes I feel like I shouldn't say that, but I also look back at all the years of work that led up to me being able to live the life that I live today. I have an incredible team that we really honestly wouldn't be where we're at without them. Our social media is a huge part of our growth, and our team are rock stars. Sometimes they'll ask me to do things that I feel a little silly doing, but I do them and I actually have fun, and it's some of our best performing content, and it, I think, allows people to see a sillier side of me. So I think it's just like having the right people around you, having the right support system. Everyone always thinks I do it all, and I'm like, I really don't do it all. I don't.
But you've earned your place to be here too, and you do have to put in. It's easy to be on. It's not easy to be on this side. It's never easy on any side. But when you have achieved, you've earned that freedom because you've put in the team in place, you've put in the systems in place, you've been through this stuff, and there's probably more things to come. But I love that you have that balance, and it's very rare. So it's incredible to see that. Well, this conversation has been so incredible. I literally feel like we're gonna have to have you back on to continue the conversation. What's next for BK Beauty?
Oh gosh, well, we just launched a new brush set about a month ago. We sold out in 6 hours. We're restocking that in a couple weeks, so that'll be a big moment for us. And I feel like what's next for BK Beauty on a larger scale is color cosmetics.
Ooh, so you're going to do it.
Making the products to go with the brushes. Yeah.
I love it. I love that. And you said you keep selling out. Is there any tips that you have for us for product-based companies or companies that do want to just sell out your product? Like, what's the formula?
I mean, for this last launch, we really shared a few weeks before and just got people really excited. We brought them behind the scenes when we were doing the photo shoot. So they were there live seeing us do the photo shoot. We created all this content to just get people really excited. And so there was just so much excitement built up. And I think really my biggest piece of advice, if you have a products company and you're trying to have the same results, is just let people see the behind the scenes, right? Bring them on your journey with you. Let them feel a part of it. That's so important. People feel invested. They're excited. They feel like they're part of it. I think that's really important.
I think that's incredible. Well, I'm going to close us up with a rapid fire. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Inbox 0 or chaos queen?
As of this year, 0.
Good. Love that. Slack, text, or voice note?
Voice note.
Oh, I knew you're a voice note girl. Okay. What's something that you secretly delegate immediately?
Oh gosh, secretly delegate immediately. Scheduling my posts on my personal Lisa J makeup page, like scheduling them. I'll go in and approve them, but I don't like the upload and the posting, the scheduling.
Social media.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the daily ritual that keeps you sane?
Going on a hike every day with my husband and my dogs.
With your husband, you work with your husband and you want to go on a hike with your husband. Okay. I like that. It's a lot of husband time. I could never work with my husband. I work with my husband. I work with my brother.
I think we all work with our husbands, maybe not in business, but we are a team in life. Right?
I agree. What is the current book on your nightstand right now?
I read and I fall asleep in 5 minutes. I'm in a big audiobook.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And so someone just recommended it last night, Obsessed. Yes, Obsessed. That's what I'm going to listen to on my drive home today.
Okay. And your coffee order?
I drink this thing called Bio Coffee. I get it on Amazon. It's a decaf coffee, but it's got wheatgrass in it. Sounds terrible, but it's actually very good. Okay. It's got non-dairy creamer. I drink that every day.
It's good.
It's good.
And there's no caffeine.
There's no caffeine.
No caffeine. And then just to close this up, one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self, to young Lisa.
I would tell her that I know this sounds like you're enough. What you're doing is enough. Follow your passion. For the longest time, I didn't feel like being a makeup artist was a good enough job. And I did it kind of, I don't know, I felt like I needed the corporate job to feel more validated. And really what has gotten me here is just following this passion of makeup artistry. I just loved this and I found a way to keep it in my life. But for too long, I was almost ashamed of that. And so I would go tell that girl, don't be ashamed of it. Be proud, really embrace it and share it.
I love that. I love that. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for your success. Thank you so much for sharing all these beautiful insights and all your energy. I can't wait to have you on and support you and hopefully do your makeup outside of your dreams. So we have to get that on social.
We do. We'll record it.
We will record it. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, go follow Lisa, go follow her story, tag this episode, leave us a review, tag us on social, and ask for that makeup collaboration so that we can finally get something happening. And it's going to be wonderful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week on CEO School.